Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto. Time to show you the way of franchising today. Hey, do you possess the spirit of an entrepreneur? Or lay your business plan down like a rug or a floor? Or maybe you have a dream of opening a chain of delis, or whatever passion lights that pilot light under your belly. Or do you want to start a business, fam, using the proven trademark from another brand? And grow together and expand like a rage of fire, from a single to a multi-unit empire. Well, pay attention to this podcast that you hear and streaming in HD, so fine-tune both of your ears. And Stan and Paul lays down the law. Whether you want to be a franchisee or a franchisor, it's all about sustainable growth, the sensible franchising, proven concepts, the smart enterprising. So use your left and right side of your brain and absorb this knowledge here, franchising today. Badlands, baby. Franchising today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchising today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchising today. Franchising today.
Hello, everyone in the franchise world. My name is Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today. Today is Wednesday, October 25th, 2017, and I'm reporting live from San Antonio, Texas, and my co-host, Stan Friedman, is not with us today. He's speaking at a Franchise Success Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina. We'll certainly miss him this week, but I'm sure next week he'll be able to bring us some insight and perspective onto that fairly new event, an event that might not be on everybody's radar. Speaking of events, next week I will be at the Franchise Expo West, which of course is back in Los Angeles, California, produced by MFE Expos and the International Franchise Association. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone out there. And of course, I'll be speaking with Teresa Huskin and Lee Plave on Web 2.0, data breaches, technology, social media, and franchising, a 3.5-hour symposium. That's next Friday at the Franchise Expo West. You'll be able to find me also at the Franchise Foundry booth, which is booth number 811. Also coming up, we have the Emerging Franchise Or Conference, which is, it's November 6th through 8th in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm scheduled to be there as well. Stan will be at these two events as well. And then, of course, the following week, I'll be at the Franchise Brokers Association Conference in Orlando, Florida. So it is definitely a very, very busy time for us, and we're doing some logistical juggling of the show. We've got some great guests coming on over the next few weeks. We're going to round out our 8th year by the end of the year, and then, of course, we'll be starting year number 9 for January and looking to take it up a notch. So without further ado, I'd like to jump into the meat and the potatoes today and give you this quote. We have built our entire firm by leveraging the best practices of the best in the business. Our client-centric approach is unique and allows us to help our clients find the best available talent in the market. We're old-school headhunters that attract a search, and will relentlessly dig until we find and recruit the best. We treat all of our clients as clients, helping from entry to the executive suite. And, of course, that's by today's guest, CEO and founder of SearchPath, Mr. Tom Johnston. Tom, welcome to Franchise Today.
Thank you, Paul. Very glad to be on. Thank you.
You know, it's an interesting time. You know, we came out of the big financial debacle of 2008, 2012. We heard a lot about, transitioning executives and stuff. And, of course, it seems the cream always rises to the top, always has an opportunity to find that next position. But, of course, organizations like you, are there as a resource not only for them, but obviously the companies, and we'll dive some into that. But, like we ask all our guests, You don't wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to go to school and go into to franchising. Everybody's come down this path in so many different ways. So why don't we take you down that path and go as far back as you'd like and give us a little bit of history and tell us how you wound up where you are today.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much. I'm glad to kind of talk a little bit about that. Not only did I not wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to get into the franchising, but the same thing with recruitment and search. Never thought I would be an executive recruiter or a headhunter. I grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey, went to St. Bonaventure University, and graduated with a degree in management science years ago. I'm not going to give you the date, but it was a while ago. No idea what I was going to do. I had no idea what management science meant. I didn't know where the placement office even was on my campus. I came out of school, and like everyone else at the time, I was told immediately upon returning home, get a job. No idea what to do. So I wound up, one of my neighbors worked at UPS, and they had a management training program and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and it was actually being a UPS driver. Everyone has to drive there before they become a supervisor. So I did that for a few years, probably one of the best jobs I've ever had. I progressed there, promoted a few times, wound up running a facility in Masbeth, Queens, New York. Decided to move to a different organization, Roadway. They were opening up a package delivery, and today it's FedEx Ground, and I helped open up New Jersey for them. And then I got into the consulting business and absolutely hated it. I wasn't one that liked to go in and tell people what's wrong and, here's how to fix it, and then walk away. I wanted to get involved. And this is where I started getting involved in this whole human capital space. I had an idea way back in the late 80s, early 90s, when large companies were downsizing, re-engineering, right-sizing, and tossing all their mid-managers into the marketplace. Why not put these people back to work in contract, interim, or temporary positions? And so I realized that in order for that to be, I thought it was a good idea, but it needed to be delivered through a recruiting company. They already had the clients. They were delivering primarily full-time recruiting solutions, and they had all these unemployed guys sitting in their database. So I said, well, why not go out and put these guys to work? And I approached a small firm in New York, and within a couple of years, we had a multi-million-dollar business, and the margins were unbelievable, and it was a great, great opportunity. And I then left and started going around teaching temporary staffing companies, mid-level recruiting companies, and senior-level executive search firms how to deliver an interim executive solution as part of their service offering. And it was then in 1992 when I came across a gentleman by the name of Alan Schoenberg. He was the president, founder, CEO of a company called Management Recruiters International, MRI, and he invited me to move from the East Coast into Cleveland, Ohio, to build out a whole new franchise offering called InterExec into his existing franchise system to help his franchisees offer another revenue-generating solution. So I did that, and that's when I basically got into the franchising world, even though today when I go back, I didn't realize when I was working with FedEx Roadway Package System that they were actually a franchise. Everyone had to buy their route, but they never used the word franchise. But came into MRI, spent 4 or 5 years there helping build that system out, put 350 units into the MRI system. This was when they were going through their explosive growth from a few hundred franchises to ultimately they peaked out at about 1,100. And in the mid-'90s decided that the franchisees seemed to be having a lot more fun than I was. So I decided to jump in and buy one of his franchises. And, that's kind of how it went. Stayed there for a number of years. Absolutely loved doing search. My area of specialization was the search industry. So I actually was the recruiter of recruiters or the headhunter of headhunters, and I still do that. But based on some changes that happened at the MRI organization, felt it was time to move on. And in 2005, with guidance from my mentor, decided it was time for me to open up my own franchise system, which is SearchPath, which we launched in 2005, 2006. Doing real well, heading right into that economic disaster. But we got through it, and we're here today, and we're starting to really grow the business. So that's just a quick summary of how I got into the recruiting and the franchising business.
Yeah, and along the way, of course, Mr. Schoenberg was, certainly an icon in the industry. And I know there's a little bit of tidbit of information I'd like you to share about where you're actually doing this call today.
Years when MRI really was rolling, 1,100 franchises worldwide, 6,000 recruiters, almost $800 million in revenues generated. They moved to one of the iconic buildings in Cleveland. They took 2 whole floors, the 30 and 31st floor, overlooking Lake Erie, and they completely built it out, customized the whole thing, and Alan had a custom executive suite developed and designed specifically for him. And they designed this, and then when he retired, as a gift, they gave him his office suite. And over the years, he was storing it, and one day he called me up when he heard I was moving to a new office space and asked me if I would take his desk and I could borrow it for a while. That was about 10 years ago, so I am actually sitting in my office. We have an office called the Alan Schoenberg Memorial Suite, and I'm sitting at the desk that Alan Schoenberg sat on when he peak of his glory, and I'm conducting this interview while I'm sitting at his desk, so it's kind of cool. Just an interesting to remind me where I came from, and somebody who had a big, big influence on me in my life. It was an awesome guy.
Tremendous tribute. Yeah, tremendous tribute, and I appreciate you sharing that with us today. It really is a great tribute. I wish we were able to do it live in there, the two of us, sitting across from each other. I think, well
maybe someday we'll bring a camera in and we'll do that one.
Yeah.
We'll get that done.
Really neat. So, SearchPath. So you started SearchPath. Explain a little bit what SearchPath actually is, because so many different people really don't have an understanding between, search, recruitment, headhunter. There's so many different words, and I know there are different things. So give us a little bit of the lay of the land, so to speak, as to what the different components of your industry segment actually is.
Well, basically, we can keep this fairly simply. We can get it a little bit more complicated, but to keep it simple, the entire staffing industry is about $370 billion worldwide industry that encompasses companies that help, a third-party company that helps one company identify and bring on talent. And it goes everywhere from board of directors to hourly employees and everyone in between. And a big part of that is what we classify as the staffing industry. That's the Manpowers of the world, the Ronstadts, where primarily temp staffing. They maybe do a little bit of temp to perm. They'll absolutely do a little perm, but those businesses are locally based. You typically have salespeople out. They go out and they have internal recruiters, and many of them have been under the franchise domain. And Kelly started as a franchise, as did many of the others. Those offices tend to be, whether they're working a day or a week or a month, they primarily temp staffing. They're locally based, and they're primarily functionally driven, meaning they'll place accountants, they'll place day laborers, they'll place some healthcare people, and that's a big part of the segment. When you move up the food chain to where the client is not only requiring talent, but they also need a certain set of skills, but then they also need industry experience, meaning we don't just need an accountant, we need a director of accounting who's going to oversee a group of accountants. So not only do we want them to have that skill and experience, but we also want them to have industry experience. So that's where SearchPath and some of those other firms come in. Sometimes the term, they call it professional managerial recruitment. Some will call it contingency search. I'll get to that in a minute. And that's really where the salaries tend to be in that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year annually, and then go all the way up to even a couple of million. When you get to the very highest part, the executive searches, or sometimes you call it retained search firms, they tend to be where the salaries are that $250,000 annually and above. Our world tends to be right in that middle section where the $60,000, $70,000 to just under $200,000, and Primarily, we do full-time hires, but we also do interim and a variety of other services. The terms get a little bit confusing. The term headhunter is something that a lot of the people will use. Some people find it offensive. Other people think it's just fun. Recruiter is a term that's getting really overused a lot. There are companies out there that are just posting job orders on the job boards and on the internet and LinkedIn, and they're receiving resumes and screening them. That's not what we do. The definition of what we do is we're industry-specific executive recruiters or search consultants or headhunters, whichever term you like, and we go out and we build relationships with the top talent in our industry niche. We find and have relationships with passive candidates, not necessarily candidates that are active in the market, on the job board, unemployed, looking for work. We find them the top performers. So when a company engages our services, typically our fees are 25 to 30% of the first year's salary. We then go out in a very targeted way, identify the top talent, usually the passive candidates that aren't actively looking but performing at a high level at their role. We approach them, we ask them if they know or would be interested in the opportunity, and we recruit them to look at our program. So we're kind of like talent agents at a very high level. We work with very exclusive individuals. We work tenderly, we call them, the people that are part of the 130% club, people that are so good at what they do that a client would pay us a premium just to be met and introduce them. So that's kind of a quick definition. The word contingency search comes in a lot because one of the methodology actually that Alan Schoenberg created was we will find you a candidate and you'll pay us only if you hire the candidate. It's a marketing technique. Most of the time, though, we work with exclusivity. We try to get exclusivity. Sometimes we get retainers or engagement fees up front. So, again, the terms get a little bit crazy, but simplistically, we are industry-specific recruiters or headhunters who go out and help clients identify the best, the passive, top-performing candidates. We introduce them, facilitate the process, and help the client get the talent they need and help a great candidate identify a new career opportunity. Does that make sense? Kind
Excellent.
of simplified it.
Yeah, excellent. And I know in our conversations and in reading your website, and this video on the website I think is just exceptional. And you mentioned it just a minute ago about building relationships. But unlike some of these other executive search firms, and I hope I'm using the terminology correctly, it seems like a lot of them work with the elite, or at least the perception is they're working with the elite. And I know basically with SearchPath, as we titled it today, the right solutions from startup to Fortune 500. And I know in our conversations you talked about, flexibility. Explain some of that, because I don't think the average person thinks that maybe they would be the right individual to come to a firm like, or actually to the firm, SearchPath.
Well, coming to the firm, you mean as a candidate or a client?
Yeah, as a candidate or as a client.
Yeah. I think what's happening, a couple things. Number one, the amount and roles that companies are asking us to recruit on is rapidly changing. There used to be a time where they were fairly selective, but we've actually got one of our franchise owners that's working in the automotive field because companies can't find certified technicians, and they're paying search fees for automotive technicians, which is awesome. It's never been done before. So we're starting to see more and more roles are being brought in where companies are saying, look, we really desperately need talent, and we can't find them, and we're willing to pay search fees for them. When we talk about flexibility, we have an approach to the market. We call it the client-centric approach. First and foremost, when we get a client, we don't recommend that you go in and just say, well, I only want to handle searches where the fees are over $75,000 a year. Believe it or not, there are companies out there, search firms, large, well-known search firms, that if the fees are under a certain level, they'll say their fees are too low and we're not going to work with you. Go to someone else. That makes no sense to me at all from a business point of view. So what we teach our franchisees is to go out into the marketplace, identify companies you want to work with, build a relationship with them, and then help them and provide any type of service that they need, whether it's senior level executive search, mid-level recruiting. We've had companies that have come in and said, we just need you to go out and help us find college grads, and be flexible. Help them, consider them a client, not just, walk in with this is what I want to do. That's not how you sell to a company. And we have an approach called Client Centric approach, because we didn't like being considered a classified contingent or retained, because there's issues and problems with both those models. Our model is very, very simple. It's a 5-step program where we walk in and ask the client, how can we help you? And they'll explain where are they having problems as it relates to human capital, talent. And then we provide a variety of solutions. We do full-time direct placement, interim, executive placement. We can do RPO. We can do temp. Whatever they need, we will help them with that. We then talk about relationship. Are we the only firm working on it? Do we have an exclusive opportunity, or are we non-exclusive? Are other firms working on it? Both are acceptable ways to do business. We're open to compete. In my opinion, you have to earn the right on both the client and as a recruiter to be exclusive. Basically, are you married or are you dating? It's totally appropriate. We then talk about our fee for service. Some companies, search firms, we want X% of base salary. We have no negotiation. Again, we start that conversation with asking a company what's their budget. Some young startup companies can't afford, a 30% fee. The owner of the firm may not even be making that much money. So we ask them, what do you budget? What do you need? How can we help you? We do flat fees. We'll do percentages. We've got all kinds of different ways, whatever works with the client. Sometimes it's a monthly fee. And then when all those things are done, we talk about the 5th step, which is terms and conditions. When do we get paid? How long is our guarantee? Those are the areas where we negotiate. And this is where we introduce one of our game-changing concepts that no other firm in the world does. We actually offer, in certain situations, that we'll put a portion of our fee based on the success of the candidate after they start. Most, for all search firms, they want their fee when the candidate starts or within a week or two. We actually will put a portion of our fee based on the success of the candidate maybe 90 days after they start, as long as they're performing and meeting the objectives that the company has set for the candidate. And that creates a very, very different relationship. We're partners. And, we want to be paid not only on our ability to find a great candidate, but on their ability to perform. And that's a game changer. And that's helped us with some of our growth and helping us differentiate ourselves from many of the other firms that are out there.
So tell us what happens, if that candidate doesn't make the grade, so to speak. What happens?
Well, sometimes things do not work with the candidate for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's the company's fault. Sometimes it's the candidate's fault. It's never the recruiter's fault, because remember, we're just making the introduction. At the end of the day, the client has to accept and hire the candidate, and we have a product that can say no if it's not right. But if it's not working out, normally we will have anywhere from a 90 to a 6-month, even a 1-year replacement, where we'll go back in and we'll do the search again. Again, that's kind of an industry standard, but we're a little bit more aggressive, where we'll actually put a portion of our fee based on that.
Well, so you mentioned earlier about a passive job seeker, maybe somebody that hasn't even decided, or they're just thinking about it, and they get involved with your company. You have a neat solution or resource, actually, called My Hunt Path. Explain some of that and what the benefit is to that type of individual.
Well, the My Hunt Path program kind of evolved really about 6-7 years ago, and it evolved out of, and the basic reputation of most executive recruiters, headhunters, search consultants they're not very nice people. And here's the reason, Paul, is they're taught, even when I was back in the early days when I was learning recruiting, we're taught only focus on candidates, spend your time on candidates that you can generate revenue from, either a potential client or potential candidate, which means on a daily basis you're coming across people that need help but aren't ever going to be somebody that we're going to place for a fee. Typically, when a recruiter gets involved with a candidate, if they're not at that exceptional level in their industry niche and have a requirement that matches that person's background, they may actually hurt them from getting a job. But I was never comfortable with that. So from the very first day I did recruiting, I always made time to help other people, whether they're kids coming out of college, an ex-con coming out of jail, or a friend that's looking for a job, and I always help them. And about 7 years ago, when the economy was really in a tanking, 2010, 2011, when the unemployment rate was up and everybody was really, really panicking, I started to do some volunteer work, just thought I could help. And when I did that first program, Paul, I thought I would be, meeting with people that have been out of work and I would help them. I'm a recruiter. Recruiters, headhunters are probably the best there is when it comes to career counseling and coaching. And so I sat there in the room. There was about 30 people in it. And there were some people that were unemployed, some out of work for a couple of years, had no idea how to get a job. Putting resumes out on the internet, chasing ads, that doesn't work. It never has. It's a broken system. But they were really looking for some help. But then I also had people in the room who were employed, who had jobs, and they either wanted a new one, a different one, or they were afraid they were going to lose their job. And once again, no idea how to get a job. Nobody teaches people how to do this. I had kids coming out of college, some of the best schools in the country, assuming they'd walk out. They came into a tough market, no idea how to get a job. Most career counseling services in the college universities are fantastic to give you advice, but only if you want to be a career counselor in a college. They really haven't been out in the real world. They don't understand what's going on out there. I had people, those Encore people that were in their late 50s, early 60s, they're looking for one more opportunity, but they weren't looking for a 9-to-5 2-week vacation. They were looking for 10 to 2, Fridays and Mondays off, more flexibility, and I need to go to Florida for a month in the winter. And then I had people in the room that when I sat and talked to them and I tried to, pull out what they're really looking for, they wanted to be in their own business. They had a dream about being an entrepreneur, had no idea where to even start. And finally, just throw everyone else in. I had a woman 20 years out of the workforce taking care of a family, back in because she needs and wants to work, no idea where to even begin. I had a guy coming out of one of the local prisons. I had a guy coming out of the service. Once again, they're all sitting there. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And then I just got a great idea. I said, I'm going to teach every one of them how to be, or I'm going to teach them what I teach my franchisees, how to be a recruiter. Teach them the methodologies and techniques that I take for granted to evolve them from being reactive job seekers to proactive job hunters using the techniques and methodologies of the executive recruiter. And so that has evolved into my Hunt Path. We're delivering services all over the country, from high school kids to senior executives and everything in between. We're doing some work internationally in Afghanistan, working with reentry and nonprofits, but we're teaching people how to take better control of their career. And so what it does is it helps us build relationships, gives us the ability using a technology platform to help people that we may not be able to help today who are desperately looking for some help. And it helps us build the relationships. And the idea is if we can help everybody better manage their career, get their first job, their last job, their first internship, when we do have a need where we need their help, they're going to take our calls because we have a relationship with them. A select few we're going to wind up placing into roles once, twice. I have candidates I've placed 3 or 4 times. Some of those people are going to evolve to become our clients through SearchPath. And then every once in a while, we ask people if they realize that the person with the best job in the room is not the one interviewing or being interviewed. It's the recruiter who gets 30% just for making the introduction. And so that's kind of our vision on how we're going to grow SearchPath with a very long, help as many people as we can, place the ones that we can, work with the ones that can use our services, and recruit the best to come be a part of our organization as either franchisees or recruiters.
Excellent. Before we go to the mid-show break and then get into the franchise component, I'd like to ask you a question about, LinkedIn, the social media that so many people believe is the replacement for their resume, their replacement for finding a job, the all that. Tell us how you utilize it, maybe what the myths are around it, because I really don't think people have a correct understanding of where LinkedIn plays into the mix.
Yeah. LinkedIn is a phenomenal research tool. Originally, it was created as a way for people to connect with each other. But a couple things that people have to understand. One, it has gotten so large, great resource, but it's overwhelming. So many people are throwing as much content and invitations, and they're feeling like their whole world is based on building up that network in a social media sense, and they're spending way too much time. Second, it is a public site. People can see who you're connected to. There are companies out there that require, because they pay for the license, especially if it's an elevated license, they want to know who you're connecting with. So reality, it's become very much a large job board. All I would say, it's a good resource tool, but keep in mind, it's public. And I believe, as do many people that I know, that a job search is confidential. You don't want anybody to know you're looking for a job or open to look at opportunities until you've secured that new role and you tell them on your terms. So LinkedIn is a great tool, but there's many other tools out there. But our primary tool is that selective database that we create in our industry niche with the people that we've built relationships over time. And so it's a great resource. I believe, like any other of these social media programs, it's going to run its course. Facebook, I don't believe Facebook is a place to be looking for jobs. You can reach out to people and connect to them, but the reality is we're kind of old school. The right way to build a relationship with someone is pick up the phone and call them with a opportunity, offer to help them. We just do it the way it's always been done for the last 30 years, is you've got to build relationships, and that doesn't happen with connections on LinkedIn or friending somebody on Facebook or sending a resume blindly into a role. You've got to be very, very careful.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. You're listening to Franchise Today. I'm Paul Segreto. We're talking today with Tom Johnston, CEO and founder of SearchPath. Franchise Today is brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, where they've been bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years. The Foundry fosters healthy, sustainable growth for their clients, the kind that comes from experience. The Franchise Foundry provides both coaching and consulting, a hybrid approach that delivers more effective solutions for both the franchisor's corporate team as well as for their franchisees. The Franchise Foundry team is rich in practical hands-on experience and expertise with general business management, operational and change management, digital marketing, and, of course, franchise recruitment and development. Plus, the Foundry team can also assist you in creating roadmaps for potential mergers and acquisitions and provide you with the guidance needed to navigate them. Learn more about the Franchise Foundry along with their expanding list of clients at www.franchisefoundry.com. Franchise Today is also brought to you by FRM Solutions, offering best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. FRM empowers real-time business intelligence, communication, and collaboration between all members of the franchisor's team and prospective as well as existing franchisees. This enables you to simply and seamlessly track, access, and manage all the messages to and from prospective and existing franchisees, including text. Legal and compliance is simplified too, with FRM's document management and even site visits can be digitally facilitated and scored with FRM. Make today's day you give FRM a look and assure that all of your candidate and franchisee correspondence, including text messages, are being permanently tracked and stored in candidate and franchisee records. FRM even provides state-of-the-art digital experiences for your prospective franchisees, replacing old-style virtual brochures. No long-term contracts, multiple upgrades each year at no additional cost, no excuses, just solutions on the web at FRM Solutions.
Franchise Pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto, Badlands, baby. Franchising today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today, sustainable growth, sensible franchising. Franchising today. Franchising today. Franchising today. Yeah.
And we are back. And, of course, my guest is Tom Johnston, CEO and founder of SearchPath, and I'm Paul Segreto. I'm writing solo today. Stan Friedman, my co-host, is at the Franchise Success Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tom, great first half of the show, letting us know about your own path, giving us insight into SearchPath and the benefits for candidates and clients alike. And certainly, we love the fact that you're sitting there in an icon suite, an icon's chair. It's just a great story. But now let's shift gears a little bit and talk some about the franchise opportunity. And I think we need to preface that first by talking about the client and why SearchPath is such a benefit for the client, and of course for our listeners, I'm referring to the companies that contract with SearchPath.
Well, it's real simple. I don't think no matter what business you're in, if you don't have the right person with the right background and experience in the right role, you're going to fail. And I've seen you can have the greatest business plan in the world, you can have plenty of capital, but if you have the right leadership in the right roles, nothing's going to help you become successful. We do a lot of work around sales, operations, executive leadership. The key comes down to not all companies feel the need to go out and get the best talent. That's fine. There's always been, average and below average companies out there that think, well, I'm going to find the cheapest way to find, the talent I need to grow the company. I'm going to put an ad up on, one of the job boards. I'm going to hire some kid to go out and see if they can find candidates off of social media or putting ads out. Well, that's okay. And those are the candidates. Most candidates on the job boards are either out of work, unemployed, or about to be unemployed, or perpetually unhappy because they're public sites. And people don't realize that if you put your resume out publicly, you're telling the world you're looking for a job. And in my opinion, if you're looking for a job and you're currently working, that's theft. You should not be doing that. So the best candidates are not out on the job boards, but there are a select group of companies that realize when they have a key need, getting a good candidate isn't good enough. They need a great candidate with industry experience. And believe it or not, many of my clients are search firms. These are recruiters, and they know that having somebody dedicated and focused who knows where the top talent is, who can go out and proactively approach them and recruit them to consider new opportunities. And the candidates trust the good recruiters, and they'll look at opportunities, and we're able to facilitate the need. So, no matter where you are globally, because we do work around the world, no matter what industry you're in, if you look and say getting a good candidate is okay, but getting a great candidate could mean a significant improvement in my revenues, could help me save costs, can help me grow my business, then throwing an ad up on the internet's not going to work. You need to go out and get a professional search consultant who knows your industry to go out and find you the best talent. And times, Paul, we'll call 1,000 candidates and we'll interview dozens until we find the one that matches what our clients are looking for. And that level of effort is what helps us stand apart and earn our fees. So quite simply, having the best talent to some companies is a critical key to success, and we're the ones that bring them the talent.
So with that in mind, tell us about, the franchise opportunity, because you spoke a lot of what appears to be, certainly specialization, and that could actually frighten some individuals. So let's kind of get the playing field back to to level, and let's talk about the franchise opportunity and what candidates coming in and obviously becoming franchisees will learn, so that it gives them a sense that this is something that they can do.
Sure. Well, again, a couple of things. The whole art of recruiting really is more about just, talking to people, building relationships. I start every conversation with how can I help you, whether it's a candidate or a company. We can bring people in. We've successfully taken people right out of university and college, and we could put them into the recruiting business. We've taken CEOs that are looking for an encore career. Every recruiter chooses an industry specialization. Many times it's from where they have a tremendous network, but reality, we don't have to be industry experts to recruit industry experts. What we have to do is we're more of a facilitator, an agent. We have to know which questions to ask, and our clients help us with that. Our candidates give us our answers. I've had people come in, jump into a brand new industry, and within a couple weeks, they know some of the key words. But when you're talking to people, 10, 15 people a day about your industry, you're reading about it, you're attending industry events, you become an expert in the talent in the industry. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to place a rocket scientist. You just have to ask a company that builds rockets, what do you want in a scientist? They'll tell you. You learn to get the details you need from them. And then when you're out talking to rocket scientists, you're going to say, can you do these things? And within a few months, you're going to become an expert in the types of information you need to be a great recruiter. So that's the first misconception is in order to be a great recruiter in industry, I have to be an expert. No, we just teach you how to recruit. The other thing, the recruiting is fairly simple. It's once you identify your industry niche, it's reaching out to key decision makers, introducing yourself, asking them how you can help them, building a relationship with them, and when they have a need, they'll tell you what it is, and you go get the person. Recruiting somebody is simply, if they tell you they need a rocket scientist, well, the most likely person that knows a rocket scientist who might be open to a role are other rocket scientists. So you call them and ask them. You never recruit them directly. That's one of the other things some of what I call the piker recruiters do. We just simply call and ask, who do you know? Here's an opportunity we're working on. Who do you know that might be open? And eventually somebody's going to raise their hand and say, what about me? And then we just say, tell us a little bit about your background or what makes you special. Tell us why you're going to be able to solve the problem. And then we simply make the introduction and facilitate it. We never teach people to make placements. You can't make a placement. We just simply say, talk to people, introduce, our whole metric that we follow is meetings. Get as many meetings as we can, and ultimately the revenue is going to come from that. Our process is very simple. Our training takes 2 weeks from beginning to end. So it's a fairly simple business, Paul. There's not a tremendous amount of overhead. A great recruiter needs a phone. The database we use, it's under $100 a month. A good computer, internet. But we also have a lot of flexibility built into our model because we are a professional services company. We have sole proprietors. We have people that work from home. We have people that want to be in an office. As I mentioned, I'm in a big office. We have people that work sole proprietor. We have people that focus on like a rainmaker model where they go out and bring in the clients and they hire people to do the research and recruiting. We have models where you can hire several individual recruiters all working different industries, and you can bring them in as employees or 1099s. So we have a tremendous amount of flexibility. And what we bring to the table, like every other franchisor, is a proven system. Our top performer did over $2 million a year last year in a home office with a couple of remote employees, and his margins were spectacular. So it's highly profitable, very low investment capital to get involved, and it offers something that's very, very unique. Recruitment, especially at the senior levels, kind of came out of the consulting industry, and like most other professional services, it was based on hours. But fortunately, back in the 70s, somebody came up with this bright idea to base our fees based on percentage of salary. And what that did is that freed us to be able to not have to worry about hours and that type of thing. So tremendous amount of flexibility. I like to tell people that our business also very much focused on just talking to people, and the advent of technology. I could do my business basically anywhere as long as I've got my cell phone and I can talk to people. Our databases are in the cloud. I've closed deals on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean, a chairlift in Vail, and on a beach in Mexico. And it gives us a lot of – and at watching my son's wrestling match. I have the ability to have a life It's not I have to be in the office at 7 and I have to stay there till 10. I can do this business basically anywhere. So it's really a fun business. We offer tremendous training, coaching, and support to help people identify their specific dream, which is a little different than other franchises. We don't come in and say you're going to have to do it this way. We come in and say, you tell us what you want that business to look like, what kind of revenue you want to generate, and we'll build the plan around your goals. Whereas a lot of the franchisees are a much more defined way of doing business. And then we like to tell people this is a great business because we help people. I've never placed a candidate into a role they didn't want because they can say no. I've never had a client accept one of my candidates and pay us one of our fees if the candidate didn't fit their needs. And at the end of the day, I don't have to deal with cold cuts and pizza, or you're not up to your elbows in ham and pepperoni. So again, it's for certain people who've got what we look for in a franchise prospect is somebody that just has a genuine desire to help people. Obviously, we want somebody with an outgoing personality. And then more importantly, one of the most important things is somebody who is coachable and willing to follow our systems and follow the processes and things that we've proven over time work.
What's the typical day in the life of a first-year franchisee?
Well, we have a very defined way. Typically, we get them, you get in, get up in the morning, get your stuff together. And usually we recommend that you spend your mornings doing your business development and your marketing, reaching out to your clients. We also market candidates, high-performing candidates, to move the process forward, and spend kind of your mornings doing kind of the business development. And then right around 11:30, start doing things like reference checks, setting up interviews, that type of thing, checking your voicemail, grab lunch. Usually the early afternoon, we focus on recruiting candidates for the searches that we have. And then, around 3:30, you start following up on some of the things that you've voicemails and emails and things like that. And the most critical thing, and this is where a lot of recruiters drop the ball, is then spend about 45 minutes to an hour planning your next day. So we want everybody to start their day with a plan on who I need to call, what I want to get out of those calls. So it involves, a defined process of planning, and we have all the technology to do that. And that's kind of the day. You reach out to your clients and help them identify their needs, find the candidates, facilitate the process, plan for the next day. Pretty simple, but it works.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. So we hear a lot in franchising, especially where there are, territories and there are markets defined, and there are, buildings, as we refer to them as bricks and mortar. So when a SearchPath franchisee comes on, does he have a specific territory? Does he have an opportunity to eventually grow into a bigger, maybe a multi-unit franchise? Explain some of that, because I think those are some very unique nuances to your brand.
Sure. First is, as an individual recruiter, we encourage our people to work globally. They're industry specific, so they're not going to work their local market, which is why you can have recruiters in Vail, Colorado. You can have people in Florida. They don't have to work a geographic territory. They work globally. So there's no restriction on that. So that's one of the key things that's a little bit different from us. As far as brick and mortar, like I say, some people like to work in an office and they can build their office with hiring people. Others, it can be a home-based office. And we have one of our top offices home-based with multiple recruiters located virtually around the country, and they work together and do a great job. As far as territories, we limit the amount of recruiter office that we have based on statistical population. So we're not going to put, 200 offices in Cleveland, and I think, we'll limit it to a certain number. But because every one of our franchisees and every one of their recruiters works a different industry niche, territory really hasn't been as big of an issue. And then we do allow our franchisees to open multiple offices if they want to. And then what we also see is, some of the biggest and best recruiting companies I mean, there's a friend of mine that down in the Southeast has a recruitment firm. It's a single unit location, and I think he has, last count, 60 people working in that office, and I think last count they were doing about $24 million with about a 20 to 25% profit margin. So there is, as in any other professional services type of business, an opportunity to really develop it based on specific goals. So there is, the one unique thing is it does give people the flexibility to build the business what they want. I love when people walk through the door and say, I want to build, a multi-million-dollar, brick and mortar location. But I also am excited when someone comes in and says, look, I'm good if I can, do a couple $100,000, but I want a lot more flexibility, for children or variety. I've got one guy it's all about golf. He wants to make sure he gets 3 golf games in a week, and, recruitment can offer you that type of flexibility.
Sure, it can. And flexibility is something a lot of people are looking for as we become more and more an entrepreneurial type of economy. Well, Tom, I really appreciate you being our guest today. Tell our audience how they could learn more about SearchPath.
Well, again, if you go to www.searchpath.com/franchise opportunities, you go to our website. There's plenty of information there. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be glad to hook up and talk to anybody about this opportunity. We'll do whatever we can to help. But we're looking to grow both domestically and internationally. We got some real interesting things going on, and it's a great time. I don't think there's ever been a better time to get into this industry. The market is as hot as it can be. The unemployment rate is basically, we're at full employment. And I think companies are realizing that if they're going to run lean and mean, they better have the right talent or it's not going to work. So it's a great opportunity, and would love to, share and help anybody who's interested.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again, Tom. Really appreciate you being our guest today. And, of course, letting everybody know, you can look online at searchpath.com. Great information. I know I spent quite a bit of time on that the other night, and it really opened my eyes to a few things. So great stuff. So next week,
thanks, Paul.
Stan will be back. Thank you, Tom. Next week, Stan will be back. We haven't yet figured out what our mutual travel schedules are like, so hopefully one of us will be on the ground someplace to be able to do franchise today. If not, we'll certainly let you know that. So until then, my name is Paul Segreto, wishing you the best, the very best.
Thanks,
on this
Paul.
Great thing called franchising. And franchise today is
Franchise Pros. Stan the Man, Paul Segreto. Time to show you the way of franchising today. Hey, do you possess the spirit of an entrepreneur? Wanna lay your business plan down like a rug or a floor? Or maybe you have a dream of opening a chain of delis, or whatever passion lights that pilot light under your belly. Or do you want to start a business, fam, using the proven trademark from another brand? And grow together and expand like a rage of fire, from a single to a multi-unit empire. Well, pay attention to this podcast that you hear and streaming in HD, so fine-tune both of your ears. And Stan and Paul lays down the law. Whether you want to be a franchisee or a franchisor, it's all about sustainable growth, the sensible franchising, proven concepts, the smart enterprising. So use your left and right side of your brain and absorb this knowledge here, franchising today. Badlands, baby. Franchising today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Franchise today. Franchising today. Yeah.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. At American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.